All right, good evening and welcome to Breaking Today. On the eve of the hotly contested Kiambaa by-election that is happening tomorrow, we have so much in store for you this evening. But first, these are the highlights. End of the road for kidnappers. DCI nabbed the 20-year-old man who makes shocking revelation of the cold-blooded execution of 12 and 13-year-old boys. Yet again, University of Nairobi students spend their day dodging tear gas canisters in the streets of Nairobi. On the eve of a hotly contested by-elections in Kiambaa, UDA candidate John Njuguna accuses government of intimidating UDA supporters. And in the Horn of Africa, next to the Gulf of Eden and along the Red Sea, we take you to Somaliland on our special series of the little-known state. All right, good evening and welcome to the broadcast. My name is Frederick Muitidiri. My sign language interpreter is Teresia Washira. Now, to the news of the day. Now, detectives have arrested the kidnapper behind the disappearance of two children in Shauri Moyo, Nairobi. 20-year-old MASTEN MILIMU WANJALA, in a shocking revelation, has admitted to have kidnapped the children and executed them in cold blood. The murderer revealed to detectives that he executed the harmless children, Charles Opindo Bala, 13 years, and Junior Mutuku Musyoka, 12 years, who disappeared on June 30th and July 7th, 2021, respectively. It is believed that he had kidnapped and executed over 10 children. In exchange of his son's freedom, Opindo's father, Tony Opindo, whose son never returned home from Sagret Primary School in Majengo, was asked to send 30,000 shillings. Detectives are currently interrogating the criminal to establish the whereabouts of other children he is believed to have kidnapped and executed. Such a sad story. Now, activities along major roads in Nairobi City were today put on standstill by the striking University of Nairobi students. The students claim that the school administration has immensely increased tuition fee and embezzled funds meant for facilitating their learning. Robert Ouma with that report.
This is State House Road in Nairobi, and this has been the situation for better part of the day due to the Nairobi University students' unrest. Businesses along this road remained closed. The students claim that the current administration of the school is the reason for the strike.
They are eating school's money. We cannot allow this one.
We shall not allow the increment of fees to any module 1 or module 2. Comrades power! Comrades power!
It has been a cat and mouse game between the students and the security team who were deployed to calm the situation. Blocking them from one end did not hinder them from crossing to the other.
This is Riverside Drive at noon and no activity is taking place. It has been stopped by the striking Nairobi University students.
Here, the road remained closed, creating a heavy traffic. And the students maintain that they will not rest until their cries are heard by the administration and their issues solved. Robert Ouma, Switch TV, Nairobi.
Now, John Njuguna Wanjiko, the UDA Kiambaa constituency candidate, has accused the government of a planned scheme to intimidate UDA supporters during tomorrow's by-election in Kiambaa constituency. Polling stations will be open at 6 a.m. till 5 p.m. and thereafter the tallying of votes will kick off. Namkana Samo reports.
With less than 12 hours before the much anticipated Kiambaa by-election kicks off, the United Democratic Alliance candidate John Njuguna Wanjiku has accused the government of using state machinery to intimidate his supporters.
Probably they are trying to intimidate us, but we are telling them not to be intimidated. Let them come out and vote. We will, the police have assured us that they will ensure that there is peace. So we are banking on that because it's their constitutional mandate, to protect each and every, Kenyan. And so therefore we are requesting them, wherever they are, not to be intimidated, come out and vote. We will ensure that there is a smooth process. Even those people who are preparing to come from outside, we are telling them these are different constituency, and we know definitely that the Kiambaa people will man.
Wanjiku, while addressing the media in Karuri Secondary School, used as the main tallying center, He urged his supporters not to be intimidated and to come out in large numbers to rally behind him.
Hoping and trusting that, the people will decide and will be given that opportunity to exercise their democratic right. And we are asking all our competitors, let us allow the full process of, for allowing the Kiambaa people to elect, the kind of leader that they would want him or her to represent them.
About excess use of power, I don't know. I have not heard the complaint myself from anybody, but in case it happens, now the issue of law and order lies squarely with county commander.
The Kiambaa IEBC returning officer Peter Muigai has reiterated that the commission is ready to tackle the elections. Polling stations will be opened at 6 a.m. and closed at 5 p.m. tomorrow.
154 polling stations, and they are distributed in 5 wards. So, and we have just slightly above 96,000 voters.
Ndaamuka kwa sababu napenda Kenya yangu, napenda maendeleo. Kesho mapema sana ndaamuka na nipige kura, na napiga mimi ndio najua mwenye ndapigia.
Kesho kama kawaida lazima niamkie biashara kwanza. Nasema me first, then others follow.
Security has been beefed up in the area, with police officers being deployed to different polling stations to safeguard the election. The race has attracted 6 aspirants, with John Njuguna of UDA and Kariri Njama of Jubilee being the frontrunners.
It will be a do-or-die match between Kariri Njama of the ruling party Jubilee and John Njuguna Wanjiku of United Democratic Alliance. Namukana Samuel, Switch TV, Ruaka, Kiambu County.
Thank you, Namukana, and be sure to catch up that story tomorrow. We'll be in the whole of Kiambaa constituency, bringing you top stories as the by-elections unfold. Now, Julius Kiplagat Rotich, one of the 36 hopefuls eyeing vacant IEBC commissioner positions before the 7-member panelist, says given a chance, he will introduce Kenyans to casting votes via their mobile phones. This kind of system borrows a lot from United States of America. But how does this system work, and can Kenyans adapt to it? Caroline Suma tells us more.
I will help in terms of technology.
Julius Kiplagat before the panel says, given a chance to be an IEBC commissioner, he will remove the fear Kenyans have for the use of technology when casting votes and people to vote using their mobile phones, so as to reduce the cost of voting in the country.
My goal is to ensure that at one time you can be able to vote using your phone. There could be minimal cost. The cost would only be for maintenance of the system.
Whereas in Kenya, voting is done via ballot boxes, Americans in the United States cast their votes through mails, optical scan paper ballot system, where the voter marks their votes by filling in a box on a ballot paper, which is then scanned to the polling station or other central location. Direct recording electronic system is also another method of voting, where computers record votes directly into the computer's memory and voters' choice are stored by the computer. And lastly, ballot marking devices and systems, which allows electronic presentation of a ballot, electronic selection of a valid contest options, and the production of a human-readable paper ballot. And what system-based control will Kiplagat put in place to ensure the system is not hacked and people get correct results?
The hacking of the system, there are experts who can deal with it to ensure that the system is not hacked. You have got to ensure that you have a backup. You have backups. And backups, you don't have even to declare where they are. Let's say you can have a backup at the IEBC headquarters, and then you have it elsewhere. Backups which are not even known.
Right. Julian Wonge Cherara and Joseph Nganga Kangede were among those interviewed today. The exercise commenced on 7th July and is expected to conclude on 22nd July. Caroline Suma, Switch TV.
Thank you, Carol. Now, today being the third day of the case hearing of Sharon Otieno murder case, government forensic analyst Kimani Mungai says according to DNA conducted to Sharon's fetus, Migori Governor Zachariah Obado is the biological father and excluded Michael Oyamo as alleged earlier. Mungai further noted that DNA from the semen found in the condom 6C that was found at the scene of murder does not belong to any of the three accused persons before the court. According to a report dated 11th March 2020 that he presented before the court, the trousers, jacket, brassiere and open shoes had blood stains, thus DNA was not possible to be generated. However, the cream under the pant of the victim was not stained with blood or semen. The ongoing murder trial is against Okoth Obado, his personal assistant Michael Oyamo, and Migori County Clerk Caspar Obiero. The hearing case of Sharon Otieno murder will end tomorrow after all the witnesses appear before the court. In other news, the impact of mixing vaccines is a concern across the globe, with the World Health Organization WHO warning that it shouldn't be individuals' decision to mix and match. Instead, public agencies should advise depending on available data. However, a warning by the WHO has been issued that due to lack of sufficient data, the process of dose mixing should not be practiced over safety concerns. Harriet Chimea has more.
Limited data on mix and match. It will be a chaotic situation in countries if citizens start, deciding when and who they should be taking a second or a third or a fourth dose.
Called a dangerous trend by the World Health Organization, the mixing and matching of COVID-19 vaccines from different manufacturers still remains a debate, especially since some countries including Canada, Spain and South Korea have already approved such dose mixing, mainly due to concerns about rare and potentially fatal blood clots linked to the AstraZeneca vaccine. The immunization focal person, Dr. Kiambaa Sargon from the World Health Organization in Nairobi, has reiterated the statement, saying there is insufficient data to support the mix and match immunization.
The current situation is that there isn't enough evidence to support that. So at the moment, the guidance is we still send the same vaccine that you started in your first dose and complete your second dose with the same vaccine. But of course, with evidence coming up in future, if there will be anything to suggest otherwise, then we should be able to advise accordingly.
As the country faces a shortage of the AstraZeneca vaccine, only an estimate of 520,000 people have received the second dose out of a total 1 million people who have been vaccinated so far. However, a surety is still being maintained in the country that those who are yet to receive the second jab will receive in due time.
The vaccine supply currently for both AstraZeneca will be made available for all those who receive their first dose. Of course, we do expect that we should have Pfizer possibly in the month of August or towards the end of July, and then those other people will begin their first vaccinations and then subsequently continue.
Infectious disease experts on vaccines said in June the Pfizer vaccine could be used as a second dose after an initial dose of AstraZeneca if the latter is not available. Meanwhile, 480 people have tested positive, 148 people have recovered, while 5 late deaths have been reported. Reporting for Switch TV, my name is Harriet Chimea.
All right, and with that story, we take a short commercial break. We'll be back with more in a short while. Don't go anywhere. Text us on 111 444 111 for any feedback. right, welcome back. This is Breaking Today. My name is Frederick Mwitiriri. My sign language interpreter is Teresia Washira. Now, moving on. Tucked away in the Horn of Africa next to the Gulf of Eden, along the Red Sea is a jam, a country that has a lot going on unnoticed. Somaliland. Our crew of Kibisuna Mulanda and Jidraf Mbugwa recently visited this jam of Africa and bring you a series of captivating stories laced with the sights and sounds of the welcoming Somali people. Here now the first installment of Inside Somaliland.
Somaliland, known to locals as the Republic of Somaliland, is an unrecognized sovereign state in the Horn of Africa. Somaliland is, however, internationally considered to be part of the Federal Republic of Somalia. Somaliland lies in the Horn of Africa, on the southern coast of the Gulf of Aden. Oh, and what exactly is the Gulf of Aden, you might ask? Also known as the Gulf of Berbera, the Gulf of Aden is a deep water basin that forms a natural sea link between the Red Sea and the Arabian Sea. Somaliland, with a population of about 3.5 million people, is an oasis of peace in a region largely known for terrorism.
Al-Shabaab. Hunger, a desert place.
Our mission to Somaliland was humanitarian in nature. This involved audiovisual documentation and hence the need to be properly prepared. In today's episode, however, we delve into the sideshows. And so we set off for Somaliland, armed to the teeth. The Somaliland route is mainly plied by Ethiopian Airlines, of course with the usual layover and connection in Addis Ababa at Bole International Airport. So after slightly less than 2 hours journey to Ethiopia, a very long 9-hour overlay at Bole International Airport, we landed at Igal International Airport in Hargeisa at 6 p.m, 55 minutes after departure from Bole. Igal Airport was opened in 1954 by the British Royal Air Force, then modernized in the 1980s by the Somalia government of the late President Siad Barre. It is named after Mohammed Haj Ibrahim Egal, a veteran politician who served as Somaliland president from 1993 to 2002. He was also Somalia's prime minister in the 1960s. In 2012, the airport was closed for renovations and later reopened for business on 7th August 2013. And before I forget, with us is this man, super photojournalist, Zuhar Zoha Kohar Luai, and he is quite fun to hang out with. In today's episode, we pitch camp in Hargeisa, the capital city of Somaliland. Let us take a drive in this beautiful land with you. What makes Hargeisa unique? Let us start with the so-called sign of Hargeisa, commonly referred to as the woman breasts. From the locals, nobody really knows why they're called so, apart from the obvious resemblance. These are visible from all vantage points in the city. Then there's the downed MiG-17 fighter jet, a monument to when the regime in Mogadishu carpet-bombed Hargeisa in 1988 during Somaliland's independence bids. Vehicles in Hargeisa drive on the right side of the road. I'll be honest, this doesn't make sense at all. Why? Over 80% of the vehicles in the city are right-hand drive. That's not all. What is with the large population of TVETs in the city? They dot the whole city, and as you will come to discover in later episodes, the whole country as well. Everywhere you turn, there is the TVET's first generation. There is also a strong love for big SUVs, fuel guzzlers as Kenyans commonly call them. Well, there is every reason for one to drive one without a worry in the world. Fuel here goes for only $0.6, an equivalent of 64 Kenya shillings. Let me give you a second to take that in. There is something Kenyans can relate to on the streets of Hargeisa. Very aggressive driving. Somali is the main language in Somaliland. You might not get anywhere, anything minus a local translator. Not only in Hargeisa, but in the whole of Somaliland. Our driver Ahmed only understood a few words of English, but this made the whole experience memorable. You will also get escort in Hargeisa, whether you like it or not. Fear not, this doesn't mean that Hargeisa isn't safe. To be honest, this is the safest we felt in the longest time. The city is beautiful. The CBD is dotted with a number of high-rise buildings. Mosques dot every corner of the city. And the youth are kept occupied by the good old sport of football in pitches that dot the city. This to keep them away from any mischief. From a vantage point overlooking the city, one can notice many green areas around the city. These are cemeteries. Well kept, I must add. Before we wind up this episode, we need to tell you that in Somaliland, you are better off arming yourself with US dollars. That is the main currency of transaction. This, together with the Somaliland shilling, which unfortunately is so much devalued. On our first day in Hargeisa, we now close for the day and head to our hotel. Mansour Hotel. Wonderful hospitality. On the menu, Somali boiled goat. You can never go wrong with food in Hargeisa. Camel meat will soon be on the menu. Next week, we take you on a trip to Ali Bade on the border with Ethiopia, and later to the port city of Berbera further north.
I'm sure you're wondering why you're not hearing gunfights. That is Somaliland, very different from Somalia. Though still under Somalia, internationally not recognized, but still has a president. That is Muse Bihi Abdi. All right, every Wednesday, we're bringing you more from Somaliland with our boss, Kibisu, and our very own Jidraf. All right, now it's time for business. Now, Kenyan water providers have been challenged to first account for the budget they are provided with, even as they seek to lobby for more budget financing. Currently, water providers in the country are allocated 30% of the Water Resource Authority's WRA budget and are lobbying for 70% funding instead. To fund this, the World Bank is pushing for higher water levies that will include conservation levies and increased regulatory charges for water companies. If implemented, the prices will lead to an increase in water bills. Our business reporter, Brian Mwenda, narrates.
Water bills are set to increase in the wake of a proposal by the World Bank for new conservation levies and increased regulatory charges for water companies. However, this proposal has not gone well with water sector stakeholders.
Hii mikopo ambayo inapewa na haya mashirika kama World Bank huwa tariffs zinakuwa affect tu pale World Bank imepeana hiyo mikopo.
Additionally, the bank's proposal pushing for an increase in funding of water providers from the current 30% of the Water Resource Authority budget to 70% has not gone well with the former chair of the Water Sector Trust Fund.
Swali ambalo tungependa turushie Water Resource Authority ni kwamba can they demonstrate vile wametumia 30% ambayo huwa wanapewa na hizi water service providers?
Now, water is a basic need. You're currently buying 1 cubic meter of water here in Nairobi at 93 shillings. Now, if this proposal is adopted, it means you're going to pay a little bit more than 93 shillings. Brian Mwenda, Switch TV, Nairobi.
Thank you, Brian. Education Chief Administrative Secretary Hassan Nur Hassan has said the National Communication and Advocacy Strategic Plan will address the challenges facing the technical vocational education and training TVET sector in the country. Speaking today at a Nairobi hotel, while unveiling the strategic plan, the CAS has said it had become a challenge for Kenyans residing in the northern part of the country to enroll for TVET courses, claiming they are not meant for them. Noor pointed out that the TVET sector has undergone transformation over the years in a view to creating a better training environment for the Kenyan youth.
Northeastern concerns, we still have a very long way to go in that region. People still believe that technical education is not meant for them. So we have serious challenges in that area, and I'm sure the strategy is going to address that. And I think this strategy is going to be the only way to bring to light all those concerns.
It's time for sports now. As the countdown to Tokyo Olympics gathers pace, most countries have sent their athletes, and the last batch of Team Kenya arrived in Tokyo yesterday and joined their compatriots in KURUME camp. Malkia strikers and Shujaa have already started